Kayla Thornton is here to indulge all of my basketball analytics conversation and talk about her new team and the teams that came before. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal, thanking you for making us your first listen every day. A huge accomplishment for all of you and for us. North of 100,000 people listening in April alone. We are on pace to shatter that in May. So again, we're just so grateful for this huge community coming together to listen to our podcast about women's basketball 6 days a week. And of course, it is not just me, it is all the incredible people who are covering this sport over at thenexthoops.com, where we have over 100 reported pieces every single month. Of course, make sure you subscribe if you haven't, thenexthoops.com. When you were in Dallas, Kayla, we had Ari Graham covering you. Now we've got Jackie Powell covering you here in New York. It's always a pleasure to get the chance to chat with you. And I guess the place that I want to start is when you think about your career arc and where you've gotten to where you are now, is there a moment that stands out to you where you felt as if, all right, I have established myself as a player in this league?
Yeah, my career is kind of, different from a lot of people's and, how I started, when I was with Washington and I got cut twice and then I had a workout with Dallas and then that kind of expired there. And I was there, half of my career, well, almost all my career. And then now I'm in New York. So, first it's just a blessing. I think, just with this game and how our league is evolving, you just have to keep, involving your game, getting better in different areas. You can't stay content in one area. And I think I've, just done that across the years and just doing what I do best and not getting out of that and not trying to be somebody that I'm not, but just doing what got me here and, and keep going from that.
So, for our listeners at home, in segment one, we're going to talk a lot about Kayla's journey and how she got here. In segment two, a lot about what it means for 23 and beyond. And Kayla, I want to start with what I would imagine is a bittersweet memory for you, but I want to take you back to April 5th, 2014, and what was the final game of your college career, UTEP against Rutgers. And, for those who don't know, Kayla was a star in her hometown, which I think is pretty cool. But I just wonder for you to come now to the Liberty and have your good friend Benai Laney be able to talk to you about that game, which went Rutgers' way 56-54. Is that a frequent topic of conversation? How do you guys treat that as your friends?
You know what? I have a trainer back at home and, we were just talking about it and we were just reminiscing about old times. And we kind of went back to, that game. And I didn't realize that I was playing with Cooper and Benaj. And we had a picture that they took. And I was like, wow, this is B. And so I showed it to her and I was like, yo, this is crazy how, now we can look back and Lowry, it's crazy how the world just comes around that now we're playing, with each other, but yeah, I mean, that was a remarkable time that I had at UTEP. I think one of the best runs we ever had in the history. One of the, we sold out every WNIT game. So that was just miraculous. And, that's something that I can never, forget.
I mean, a 28-8 season, making sure that UTEP was on the map, a really significant moment. And so what's striking to me, though, is what follows. And we're obviously getting into it. But when you look at the career you've had, and we'll talk about not just here, but overseas as well, it took a while. It took a while for you to be able to have the decision makers understand and reflect what you bring to the game. So take me through, if you can, back to spring, summer of 2014, how you're thinking about it, what your goals are, and whether what has followed was the way in which you planned it in any conceivable way.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey. And like I said, I think me being cut from Washington, I'm always appreciative for them even bringing me in for training camp and stuff like that. But I kind of think it just started there.
Mhm.
I'm a big competitor, and I don't like losing and I don't like failure, but that comes with life. So I had to kind of learn quick, and just knowing my faith and my mother being a preacher and just being in that atmosphere of church. When one door closes, another one opens, and it did hurt, but I told myself that I wasn't gonna quit. I was gonna prove those that didn't think that I was a big size and able to play in the league as a four, that I was undersized. So I just went overseas. I think that was like my first year. Went to, I think, Puerto Rico and played over there. Then I played in Israel. Then finally, played in South Korea. And I just developed my game. And I always told myself, don't forget what happened to you in 2014, 2015, being cut, and then being cut again. So that, still to this day, I still have that fire where, I just can't be comfortable, because you just never know. And, I just always hold that inside me, because at any time, anything can happen. And I have experienced that firsthand of, being out the league for a little bit and then being able to come back. So, I just take that and I just keep running with it.
It's so fascinating too. We can just focus on the stats in the league, and you have a certain understanding of like Kayla Thornton, the player, right? As the defensive stopper and somebody who scores in small doses, right? But then you look at what you did in the Israeli league. You look at what you did in Puerto Rico, and you were a 20-10 machine, and putting up those numbers consistently. So I guess a couple of things that sort of come to mind out of that. Number one, how much did those reps overseas do you feel like put you in a position to succeed here, specifically on the offensive side of the ball? Because while you don't necessarily put up scoring in volume, you have always been an efficient scorer.
Yeah, playing overseas and playing in the WNBA is obviously different. Your roles change. When you go overseas, it's like, you're the only American where I played, so you're expected to do more. Over here, it's just kind of different. You kind of just fit into the program that you're in, and you just go about that. But it's really not all about that. It's just when your opportunity comes, are you going to be ready? And that's the main focus. I always just come in and I do what I have to do, whether it be defense, offense, if I need to score, if I need to stay in the corner and, just wait for that shot. I'm ready for whatever. And that's the most important thing about this game and about being in the WNBA. Of course, things are different when you go overseas now and, the mindset. But I think the overseas kind of just gives me the confidence and it correlates back over to WNBA. So when I'm put in that moment, I'm already ready.
When you got this opportunity in 2017, you made the Dallas Wings roster. How much did that feel like validation? And not just to make the roster, obviously, you played in all 34 games that year.
Yeah. It's just, it's just a blessing, Howard. To do that. I'm a strong believer. Like I said, when one door closes, I stay faithful to my game. I stay faithful to putting the time in at nighttime and doing whatever I need to do to get back. And it's just been excelling from there.
When you think about your tenure in Dallas, you are high up on a number of their career marks when you look across the board. In a lot of ways, you have defined what that period of time was, a period of change in Dallas, as with changeover on coaching and changeover on the roster. You were the constant there. And so, to be able to make that transition this past winter, how much of a challenge is that for you? How much of a challenge do you think that is for, frankly, the Dallas Wings?
Like I said, things happen and, some things are just out of your control. You can only control what you can. And my time in Dallas has been great. Like I said, I'm just a player that I just come in and I do what I have to do. I don't ask for more or less. I just try to be consistent in what I do and bring whatever the team needs in any aspect. It could be off the court, on the court, whatever that might be. In this case, my time did end up in Dallas. It was unfortunate. I never saw it coming, but I'm blessed that now I'm here in New York, a new opportunity, a new team. And, so far it has just been amazing.
Well, I'm eager to get into the particulars of the way in which your skill set, and I've written about this, but just, clearly intersects with what the New York Liberty need. And so we're going to get to that in segment 2. First, I'm going to tell the good folks at home about Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs, their pants, their shorts, their stretchy fabric allow you to feel comfortable when you are sitting at all times. I'm somebody who's looking for comfort. I'm somebody who does a lot of work at home. And, their versatility has been significant. You're able to wear them out as well. I'm able to wear them without my wife being upset about the way I look, which is, of course, the only thing that matters to me. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. When you enter promo code LockedOnNBA, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. Again, it's birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA, LOCKEDONNBA. If they're good enough for my wife, how I look in them, they're good enough for you. All right. I want to talk to you about, and I went back and I knew this intuitively from having covered you for a long time, but your synergy numbers, right? When you look at defensive stats, you look at your defensive points per possession, it doesn't matter who was around you. We talked about Dallas, you changed every year. You guard 1 through 4. We talked about this at Media Day. You are always in the top 20% in terms of defensive points per possession. And I guess I wonder where that comes from. What is the source of your passion for defense? And when did you know early on that this was something that was a calling card for you?
I think I've always been like that. I think that's kind of just been instilled in me. I think that it just came natural. Of course, and in college, I didn't know what I was. I kind of did everything in college. But I think coming to the league, you know what? Let me take that back. When I was in Washington and when they told me I was undersized and that I wasn't, big enough to guard so-and-so and stuff like that, that's kind of when I was just like, you know what? Well, let me prove them wrong, and then I started really building my game on defense and really focus on the defensive tactics of, the little things and how to do certain things and stuff like that. So I think it kind of inspired from that. And from there, I kind of just took that on. I took on challenges and stuff like that. And it just became something that I love to do that kind of gets me going. That kind of gets my game going, that leads to everything else.
Was that something for you growing up too? I mean, I'm sure you're the best player on every team you played on growing up. And so a lot of times, that necessarily you'll shield that player from having to take on defensive assignments, right? But I know you have always guarded throughout the pros, the best offensive player on the other side. So was that like a feature of your game as you're growing up?
No, not really. I think that kind of just inspired when I got into the league and, of course, when I showed, I'm capable of guarding these top players. And I think it started off when I first guarded when I was in Dallas and I had guarded Candace when she was playing for LA. And, I don't think people really knew who I was. But once I, got on her and then, it was kind of difficult to her to score where she wanted to. I think that's kind of where it started at.
It's interesting because, again, like I said, you put up significantly, you're among the leaders in steals every single year, steal percentage significantly as well. And being able to guard a Candace Parker, that's opening people's eyes. Does it open coaches' eyes as well? Did you find that it was successfully guarding Candace that helped you get more of those defensive opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, but I think just for me, just my mindset, like, just whoever I guard, I take much pride in that. You might beat me one time, but you won't do it again. And it's just a pride thing with me, when I guard people, and it could be from, 1 through 5 or anybody, you know what I'm saying? I just take more pride in that. Now, when it comes to bigger names like the Diana Taurasi and, when I was guarding Brianna Stewart, now I kind of took that to another level. And yeah, so
I don't know how many people have guarded both Tarazi and Stewie in the lead, but it's got to be an exceedingly short list. And it might be a list with one name on it, as near as I can tell. So that side of it, right? When we think about the basketball perspective, there's obviously a really perfect fit here in New York. What's it like, though, just off the court? You're in Dallas for 6 years. Take me through when you heard, how you processed it and sort of how you went about finding peace with, like you said, things happen for a reason to
Mhm.
get to the moment where
Mhm.
you see what New York and that opportunity is for you.
Yeah, so I was actually in Australia, and I was having practice, do, and then got to my phone. The time difference in Australia is very different. So when I'm my folks back home, they sleep, huh? So I looked at my phone. And I'm just like, people are not up back home. So I was looking through it, and my agent's like, call me as soon as possible, and da da da. And then before I could even call my agent, one of my best friends, Alicia Gray from, she got traded to Atlanta. She called me. She's like, hey girl, I'm excited for you. I'm so happy. And I'm just like, girl, for what? She's like, you ain't here? I said, no. She's like, oh girl, you going to New York? I said, what? So at that moment, I was just like, I had to put on a pause and start looking through my shit. I was like, I said, great, let me call you right back. Let me call my agent and see what's going on, stuff like that. So, she was telling me about it. And, just a lot of people were calling me. And at the moment, I was just overwhelmed because it just happened all at once. So I kind of just cut my phone off for like the whole day. And I only just talked to my parents. And it took me a while. And I was kind of emotional because, I've been in Dallas for a long time. And Dallas has just done me well. Being with Coach Fred, that's who brought me in, and Coach Taj McWilliams. Those were the people that really saw the light in me and gave me the opportunity. So, I had to kind of take that in. And once I talked to my mom about it, and we prayed and stuff like that, then I was just like, you know what, God, I guess it is time for a transition, and this is the perfect place. Everything worked out. Sandy reached out to me finally, and we talked, and then I was able to kind of finally settle in and realize, and I'm like, you know what, look, I guess my time in Dallas has been up, and it's time for me to venture off to a new place, new opportunities, and here I am, and it's just a blessing. New York has just been great so far, and I'm just so grateful.
The opportunity in New York, not just at the defensive end, but also just offensively, to be playing
Mhm.
among so many playmakers, so many elite finishers. Do you feel as if, and again, for benefit of our discussion, and just so folks at home understand, you have always been an efficient scorer. You've always shot very well from the field, but do you almost set your sights a little even higher when it comes to things like field goal percentage? Just sort of knowing that there are going to be opportunities in this offense that, quite frankly, we may never have seen before in the WNBA.
Yeah, definitely. I think with the group we have, with the veterans we have from Stewie, JJ, Sabrina, Joe, Johannes, and even B, and basically the whole team. I think it's gonna be good because teams are gonna exploit different things, and they might take away Stewie one night, JJ. So we others have to be ready on the backside to be able to shoot. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity. Like I said earlier, you just have to seize the opportunity, and you have to always be ready because you just never know where your night might be. And this team is just so good that it could be anybody's night, any type of day. So it's a blessing to be playing, with these players, veterans that understand the game. And I can learn from them, and they can learn from me in different things that we teach each other. So, I'm just excited because it's going to help me to grow and to learn more about the game and to expand what I can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see. And again, even just early on, you're seeing on film, how open you are, even how open Benaja is, where they overcommit on one player or another.
Right.
There's an all-star who is getting whatever shot she wants anywhere on the floor. It's just you can't take away everything, that's for sure. So we're going to end with talking a little bit about New York and your experience here. First, just letting people home know about FanDuel and the offer they have right now for our listeners, a no sweat first bet of up to $1,000. You get the opportunity to bet on throughout the NBA playoffs and the WNBA season. if you bet up to 1,000, you'll get that value back into your account. If you go to FanDuel.com/locked on, that's how you get the no sweat first bet of up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/locked on. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. So I'm gonna throw a fact out there that people may not know. You have not tweeted since 2017, and I point that out because
I have no work.
you haven't sent a tweet on Twitter since 2017, right? And I point that out because I mean, it's refreshing, right? It's like you have let your game do the talking. You have been someone who has looked to do it that way, as opposed to being real active on social media. And I guess I wonder whether you've thought about or even felt the difference, the attention, what things are like here in New York, and sort of how you approach that just mentally. Some people shut it off. Some people do it at certain times. I'm just wondering how you think about that part of it. Is it Kayla Thornton, the brand, rather than Kayla Thornton, the player?
I mean, that's a good question. I'm the person that I really don't get into social media because, for me, it's just too much. I already got enough on my plate, now that I have to worry about it. And to go back on social media, to be looking at that stuff. And, people just get caught up in the wrong things. And then you lose your focus because then you try to compare yourself with different people and why they got this and stuff like that. So, I just try to stay off of it. Now, I did, people my age and stuff convinced me to get back on Instagram, and they kind of deal with that. I don't touch that. I don't be in my DMs and stuff like that. So they just kind of do that, for my brand and what I'm trying to do, But I really don't get caught into that. It's just too much wasted time. You know what I'm saying? We should be putting our mind on something better, finance and something that's gonna be beneficial for us in the future than worrying about, who said who and girl, you did this and ooh, look at who I got and what I got on, you know what I'm saying? So I really don't play too much into that, because that's a whole nother job right there, and I ain't getting paid for it. So I don't do that.
It all makes sense to me, and certainly what you do is plenty, and it's going to be fascinating to see. I will just leave you with this question. In New York, they treat their championship teams, it's another level. There's ticker tape parades. There are the opportunities to be heroes forever. As the defensive stopper on a team with championship aspirations, do you think about legacy? Do you let yourself go there when you think about what this team can be?
Of course. But I think, I just think about the day at hand and, getting better day by day. If you look too far, then you get confused and you get lost on what the main goal is of today. But definitely, that's our goal. That's what our vision is. That's what everybody vision this team to be. But I think we just got to take it one day at a time. It's still early and we have a lot of learning to, but I love the process that we're on and how we're getting there.
Absolutely fascinating. Well, Kayla, it is delightful to cover you always. I'm so glad you're here on the show. I want to thank all our listeners as well for being part of it today. Tomorrow, we'll be joined by Dan Padovar, who was smart enough to trade for your friend Alicia Gray, and we'll be talking to him about all things Atlanta Dream. Until then, I am Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful Wednesday.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.